Hey, and welcome to Cedar Rapids Home Guys.
Yes.
We've got some tips for you. Thinking about what we were going to do this week.
Yes.
And this is something we run into a lot with first-time home buyers. And we came up with a list of about 10 things, 10 mistakes
Yes.
that they usually make. So I thought we'd go through these. Then we'd provide you a free download at the end of the video. So
Sounds like a plan, Jim.
all right.
Yes.
So Aaron, you've got one you'd like to talk about.
We're gonna trade off these 10 items here. Home buyer mistakes. I think the number one mistake would be knowing how much you can afford. That's an awfully big mistake.
Absolutely.
I think people get into this and they have no idea, and so making a budget helps. Obviously, going to see a lender, which is one of our on our list as well. But
Yeah.
seeing a lender, getting pre-qualified, having them run the numbers, and just so you understand what your monthly payment might be. And part of the budget also includes, things like utilities, taxes. There are property taxes, which is accessible, so we can look those up and we can incorporate that into the payment. And you also have to consider homeowners insurance.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
if you have Jay and I certainly have connections in a lot of things, and we have connections with insurance providers, people that we develop relationships with, and we know that they have they're very reliable folks,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
ethical, and also utility costs, which Jay and I can look up for you. It isn't difficult to do, but you have a busy life, and so that's kind of what we do. We can look those things up, and we can put together a budget and incorporate the house payment in there as well. And then also repairs. When you own a house, if you're renting now, I'm assuming if you're a first-time home buyer, you're renting, or maybe you're living with the folks. You got repairs, right? So you got to consider that. But we always try to get. I don't even know if I have not provided a 1-year home warranty for a first-time home buyer. I think I insist on it.
That's great for peace of mind.
Yeah, it's great for peace of mind. So the home warranty covers everything from your stove dies, appliances die, you have a roof issue, hot water heater starts leaking, stuff like that. And typically it's anywhere from a $50 to $100 deductible, and you pay that, and then you have it repaired or replaced. If they can't repair it, they replace it. So things to consider, and also the budget can help you determine, what you can spend. Typically, it'll refine your search, because if you can only afford so much house in a certain price range, we have to refine our search and our
Absolutely.
available homes. So, yep, that's mine.
Cool. All right. Well, also, speaking of figuring out what you can afford,
Right.
Need to get a pre-approval from a lender.
Absolutely.
Recommend going to more than one lender. So, good place to start is a lender that you may have a relationship with at your bank. But recommend going to at least, probably 3
Yeah.
at a minimum to get some competitive quotes. So, you got that to consider.
Yes.
And then, Aaron, your
Yes,
next item.
I am next up. The thing, ignoring your credit. I think a lot of folks, if you ask them what their credit is, they don't have a clue. A lot of let's say millennials, they have apps. They have the Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, these other apps. Those apps are great. However, they tend to use a different platform. They use Vantage, which is a different algorithm for credit.
That I did not know.
Yes, so lenders are going to use the FICO scoring system, and that's a little bit more strict, I guess. It's not as forgiving. So whatever Credit Karma says, that could be close to your score, but in my experience, it's not exactly your score. Typically, it's going to bolster your score, or make it look better than it is. So it's just good to go to the lender, have them pull your credit, and that really affects the rates too. So since I have the background in lending, I know all this, but just based on my experience. But we use what's called risk-based pricing, and what that is basically is a lender pulls your credit. The FICO has 3 bureaus, and they take the middle score. So they lop off the top and the bottom, take the middle, and then the middle is they look at a rate sheet, and it's kind of tiered in about 20-point increments. So let's say a 625 to a 750 credit score, you can look at a swing of about 0.5% in your interest rate, which right now isn't terrible. I mean, right now rates are so low, but rates get higher, that swing might be larger. The swing might be, let's say, 0.75 of a point or more. I've seen it all over the place. So just things to consider. And each credit score, each person's credit is like a snowflake. It's unique. You have this mix of credit, and then the algorithms use all those little pieces of your credit to come up with your score. So you just need to get to a lender and they develop a plan. If it's a little low, and low credit is fixable.
Absolutely.
We've
so
seen
if
it.
you can work on your credit, that's great, because that interest rate's going to definitely affect what you can, your rate, and then what you can afford. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Aaron, for that.
Yes.
The other thing.
Yes.
Making a down payment that's too small.
Yes.
So, you got to think about private mortgage insurance, and we can certainly help you with that.
Yep.
If you make a down payment that's less than 20%, you're going to have to account for the cost of PMI, private mortgage insurance. Make as big a down payment as you can reasonably afford without hurting yourself.
Yes.
So that'll really help you, so you don't have that private mortgage insurance. So maybe a family can gift you something, or whatever the case may be.
That's a possibility.
Yep.
Sometimes banks will do they call it a combo loan, where you have a first and second mortgage.
Okay.
So you can do and by the way, I did see on the research that we did that the average down payment is just over 5%. So it's don't feel bad if that's all you have saved. I mean, we can still help. We can still help you out. But some banks will do what they call a combo loan, which is like a first and second mortgage, and then that's used to avoid private mortgage insurance.
Excellent.
So just something to consider. When you get to that point, just come to us. We can help you out with that, guide you to that right lender. So cool. All right.
And on that note,
yes,
you don't want to underestimate your monthly payments.
Yes.
So again, that's something we can help you with a mortgage calculator, and then estimating what your monthly utilities are, getting a quote from your homeowner's insurance, figure out what your cost of housing is going to be on a monthly basis. So you don't want to underestimate that. You don't want to get locked into your home and be surprised.
Yeah, have a shock.
All right.
Because first-time home buyers typically they're not flush with resources, financial resources, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You buy a house to build wealth. Everything that Jay and I have read about home ownership it's key to building wealth. Not necessarily a requirement to that end, but you think about it. You live in a house. You have an appreciable asset. You're gaining. Your house is appreciating, growing in value, and then you sell it and you step up to the next house, right? And that's very common. Most people in the first-time home buyer house, their first house, they might live there like an average of 5 to 6 years, I think, if you look at the stats. So it's just a way of keep building that wealth, just until you retire, I guess, essentially. I mean, it's and then you have a house maybe that's paid off, and you have all that wealth, you have all that money that you can utilize, which is great. So,
And on the next note,
mistake.
Failing to gather information about the home. Now, we're not going to let you make that mistake.
We are not.
The only reason you would buy a home without getting an inspection is if you're let's say an investor, you have a construction background, you're flush with cash. Would never do that. You would get a professional inspection, termite, radon, a whole home inspection, checking all the the furnace, other accoutrements. So
absolutely.
You got to make sure you're making an informed decision.
Yes.
All right.
That's a big mistake. You buy a house, you don't get it inspected, and you have a bevy of issues, and then it just becomes a burden more than a joy.
Practically every offer we would write for you would be contingent upon a successful completion of a home inspection, and sellers are expecting that anyway. So.
Yeah, and sellers, it's one of those things where are sellers going to correct every problem that is discovered in a report? Probably not.
Probably not.
We've had sellers do that.
Yeah.
And we've had sellers that were very adamant about not repairing anything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if that's the case and you can't come to an understanding between the two parties, well, then you just walk away.
That's right.
And it's better to walk, even
Money
though
well spent.
It's an emotional thing,
Yeah.
right? Buying a house is very emotional, and people get excited and they get emotional, and it's just better to walk away. And that's why we're here. We're here to have cool heads and kind of bring it back down. You know.
I've always thought you had a cool head.
Well, yes.
It's got a very cool head.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, sure.
Yes. So, here's the next one. Buying too little or too much home. So, one thing that we'd like to do is we ask a lot of questions, right? Any good, salesperson, they ask a lot of questions. They don't talk a lot. They listen. So, we like to listen. So, we're going to ask you a lot of questions, try to determine what your needs are, not only in the immediate, but also maybe in the future. So, if you're a young couple and you're buying a house and you'd like to start a family immediately, a little tiny 2-bedroom, 1-bath house is probably not, ideal, right?
Yeah.
However, if maybe you're just a single person and you're tired of paying rent to someone else and paying their mortgage, so you just want a little tiny house and you want to call that heaven, that's great. You get to call that home and do that. So yeah, and all the other thing is we talked about is how do you know what too much or too little is? So going out and looking at homes, looking at several homes before you determine what your final needs may be is great. I had someone that I showed a house to, and it was a 1,500 square foot house, and they were surprised at how large it was. Now I could show someone else the same house, and they would say the exact opposite. They would say, this house is small. So that's why you go look. So you don't really know how big a house is or how too little or too much or too little until you go look.
Go look and imagine your family routine.
Yes.
And it being filled with furniture and, so that's going to help you out. So.
Yes. All right, Jay, what's the next one?
All right. In this market, you can't be too picky.
Yes.
All right? I mean, you can't look at 100 homes. I'm exaggerating here because by the time you get to the end of the list, the first ones are going to be gone. So we're not advocating that you make a hasty decision, but if you find a home and it meets 90% of your criteria, and the 10% that doesn't is, maybe negotiable items that you can work with, I'd recommend pulling the trigger because inventory is low right now on homes. Yeah. Good homes go quick, so I'd be prepared to know what you're looking for, and sometimes it helps to look at a few houses first to know exactly what you're looking for, and then having some get, sold out from underneath you, to know that you need to know exactly what you're looking for. If you find something that meets that criteria, but it's not perfect, I'd recommend pulling the trigger.
Yeah, and the 80 or 90% rule is a good rule.
Yeah.
I mean, finding everything you want in a house in your first house is difficult.
Yeah.
It happens. Some people walk into a house and they go, "Oh my God!" But it's having realistic expectations is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I have a couple more. And the adjustable rate mortgage, I don't know that a lot of people are doing the adjustable rate mortgage at the moment.
Really, no need to.
Yeah, no need
rates
to.
as
The
low
rates
as
are
they
so
are.
low.
Yeah.
The reason you might do an adjustable rate is because sometimes they do have lower rates, but I've seen the rates between an adjustable and say a 30-year fixed, and honestly, there is no difference. I mean, it's
no reason for
to
an
do
ARN at this time in our.
So that's, and then also not getting pre-approved. You need to get pre-approved. You need to know. We can't really write offers without a pre-approval. So it's in the contract. You have to provide a lender and also a name of a lender, your mortgage lender.
Otherwise, there's no point in shopping.
Yeah. So it helps you too. I mean, it helps you with negotiating if you have a solid pre-approval letter. And I have to say, local lenders are definitely better received.
I think so. It's so much
if you
easier
go
to work
Rocket,
with.
Mortgage, first off, I've done a few of those. They can be problematic. They're not familiar with our local, codes. Not codes. I don't know what it is. Like we do abstracting.
Local environment.
Environment, right? So it's just better to go shop local lenders, in my opinion. But yeah, that's
That's about
That's
it.
about it,
Those are
but,
the top
yeah.
10. We're going to provide a link in the description of this video. You can download notes.
Again, shout out to the Uptown Snug Coffee.
Shout out to the Uptown
Coffee
Snug
company. This is, like I said, we've said this is a coffee shop during the day, and then at night they kind of switch it over to a bar. It's a very cool place. It's located right downtown Marion. We won't be here every time, but this is probably going to be sort of our home base.
Yeah.
So, yep. Yeah.
All right, and we know what you're looking forward to.
Yes.
We always like to finish up with a couple of dad jokes. And, all right, I'm going to go first. How about
All right,
that?
do it.
All right, all
Okay.
right.
Lay it on us.
All right. What do sprinters eat before a race?
Jay, what do they?
Nothing. They fast.
I think there's one about a Kleenex.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where's it at? So, how do you get a Kleenex to dance?
I don't know. How do you do that?
How do you do that? You got a little boogie. Sorry. So,
All right.
Those are the dad jokes of the day.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you very
Have
much.
a great day.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll
Take
have
care
to
and
download.
please subscribe.
Yes. Thanks again.
You bet.
Bye.